at the Supreme Court this week. The Supreme Court has issued additional temporary restraining orders, or TROs, in connection with the candidacies of several national and local candidates. These TROs were issued in favor of Jonas Cortez, candidate for mayor of Mandaue City, and Noel Rosal, candidate for Albay governor, whose certificates of candidacy were cancelled by COMELEC, and senatorial candidate Francis Leo Antonio Marcos, whom COMELEC declared a nuisance candidate. The three TROs are on top of the 8 issued by the High Court last week, or a total of 11 TROs for the 2025 national and local elections. The Supreme Court has held that banks are not allowed to unreasonably refuse payment by borrowers who risk facing higher interest and additional charges. In a decision written by Associate Justice Alfredo Benjamin S. Caguioa, the SC's Third Division ordered Premier Development Bank to accept the check tendered by spouses Engracio T. Castañeda and Lourdes E. Castañeda as full payment of their personal loan worth 2.6 million pesos. The bank had earlier applied a portion of the amount to 3 other corporate loans to which the spouses acted as surety. The Supreme Court ruled the bank should have applied the amount as full payment of the spouse's personal loan, although Article 1252 of the Civil Code allows the lender to choose how to allocate loan payments if the borrower does not exercise the right to choose. The rule only applied to multiple loans by the same borrower. The bank also incorrectly treated the spouses and the companies as a single borrower when they are different entities. In another decision, the Supreme Court has reiterated that a psychological evaluation is not necessary to prove that psychological violence was committed under Republic Act No. 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act or the Anti-VAUSI Act. In a decision penned by Associate Justice Henry John Paul B. Inting, the court's Third Division affirmed the conviction of an accused for psychological violence against his wife and children, sentencing him up to 8 years in prison and 275,000 pesos in fines and damages. The SC also directed him to undergo mandatory psychological counseling or psychiatric treatment. The SC ruled that a victim's testimony in court is enough to prove emotional anguish or mental suffering. Here, the wife testified that her husband had an extramarital relationship, left her and their children, and cohabited with another woman in a house right beside their own home, in full view of their children. The accused even flaunted his affair on social media. Likewise, the Supreme Court has affirmed that recruiting children for sexual exploitation is trafficking, even without the use of threats, force, or coercion. In a decision written by Senior Associate Justice Marvic M.V.F. Leonen, the court's Second Division upheld the conviction of Jonah Galeseo Villarilla and Lourdes Aralar Maghirang for 8 counts of qualified trafficking in persons. They were sentenced to life imprisonment, fined 16 million pesos, and ordered to pay each of the victims 600,000 pesos in damages. The accused were arrested in 2016 by the Philippine National Police during an entrapment operation in a hotel where they accepted marked money from the undercover police officers as payment for several female minors. The accused claimed the minors consented and accepted money in exchange for sexual activities. The court clarified that under Section 3, Paragraph A of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act as amended, recruiting a child for sexual exploitation is enough to establish trafficking, regardless of whether threats, force, coercion, or deception were used. The accused also took advantage of the victim's youth and financial struggles to gain their consent. The Supreme Court has reiterated that the acquittal of a taxpayer in a criminal tax case will not necessarily result in removing their civil liability to pay deficiency taxes. However, because of an invalid letter of authority, the Supreme Court voided the tax assessment against E&D Parts and Supply Inc. and its treasurer, Margaret L. Uy, who had faced criminal charges for failing to file the company's income tax return and to pay income tax and value-added tax. On January 1, 2025, the Judicial and Bar Council, or the JBC, announced the opening of 2 vacancies for Associate Justice of the Court of Appeals, or CA, to take the place of Honorable Fernanda C. Lampas Peralta, who was recently appointed as CA Presiding Justice, and Honorable Jacinto F. Fajardo Jr., who will compulsorily retire on March 8, 2025. The JBC also announced 2 vacancies for Associate Justice of the Sandigan Bayan to replace Honorable Geraldine Faith A. Ekong, who was appointed as Sandigan Bayan Presiding Justice, and the Honorable Bernalito R. Fernandez, who will compulsorily retire on June 9, 2025. Deadline for applications is on March 10, 2025. On Friday, January 24, around 3,000 successful bar examinees of the 2024 bar examinations took their oath as full-fledged officers of the court and signed the roll of attorneys at the SMX Convention Center. A total of 3,962 out of 10,490 examinees successfully passed the 2024 bar, which was held in September last year. And that's your Supreme Court this week. I am Tiffany Dobletran, Supreme Court Information Officer.